Hey YouTube, what's up? Subscribers, Whovians. Sorry about the video quality. I'm shooting this with my webcam instead of my HD cam because I just kind of wanted. This is just kind of a quick video I wanted to do. This is regarding Doctor Who. My wife has been away for this week, so I actually talked to her today and I asked her if she wanted me to wait until she gets back tomorrow for us to watch Doctor Who together rather than me watching it tonight. So I will be a day behind everyone else seeing it, but I don't really care. I've already read comments on Facebook about it of other people that have seen it, and as expected from the trailer last week, it looks like the trailer last week looked like it was going to be total garbage, and that's precisely what everyone is saying it was. Even fans that are far more forgiving about the new series of Doctor Who than I am have branded this one garbage. So I have to wonder, like, what the fuck were they thinking? You know, like, who thought this was a good idea to I mean, I haven't even seen it yet, so I don't really know what the story is about, and I'm gonna try to not rant about the episode itself until I do my review video. But without ranting too much about this episode, my number one complaint with it, okay, is the children. Okay, this is something that I don't quite understand why it's so frequent in the new series of Doctor Who. And it's become more frequent since Moffat took over, because I think Moffat must be a pedophile or something, because his stories always involve children in some form or fashion. In The Empty Child, there was a child that was pretty much the centerpiece of that story, and then the next story he wrote was A Girl in the Fireplace, and the first opening scenes of that story involves Madame de Pompadour as a child. And then Silence in the Library had a little girl in it also, and had Cal in it. Then along comes Series 5 when Moffat takes over, and the 11th hour, or right off the bat, we're kicking off the 11th hour with the new companion as a child. And he always seems to do them about that age too. Around like I don't know how old Amelia Pond was, but we've seen River Song as a child. We've seen Amy Pond as a child. We've seen Rory Williams as a child. We've seen Clara as a child. We've seen the Doctor as a child. We've seen the Master as a child. We've seen I can't even count on my hands how many episodes of the new series have directly involved children. Like I mean, it was obvious. That was one of my reasons for that being a prediction, and the 20 predictions I made for the season is because it's been such a fucking trend, and I don't know if this is the production team's way of trying to connect to the youngest audience. Like everybody says, it's a children's show, and so I guess because it's a children's show, it has to have fucking children in it. Otherwise, it's not a children's show. I don't know how the fuck that works, because I mean, Star Trek, the original Star Trek was aimed at kids. This is one of my big problems with Doctor Who, the new series of Doctor Who, and I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of these story ideas come across as very fairy tale, very, like just take Fear Her, for example. Okay, everybody knows what Fear Her is. Like, it was, I think my review blog, I may have overrated that one a little, because after I went back and watched it a few times with my wife, I've realized, God, that sucked. What would have been the difference if the main star in that story had been an adult? Like, that's what I don't... I mean, obviously you couldn't have included all that little scribbly drawing stuff. I mean, you still could have had it as an artist. It just could have been an adult artist instead of, like, kids' scribbles and shit. I mean, it's... another thing that Moffat does, and this is... It worked fine with The Empty Child, and it worked fine with, like, The Girl in the Fireplace and Blink, where Moffat took like ordinary, everyday things and turned them into something scary. But there comes a point where it's just silly. Like hiding under your bed, or something going bump in the night. I mean, come on. Like even fucking 8-year-olds are not going to be frightened by that, okay? Like, they're not, this is not, I mean, he severely underestimates the intelligence of his audience. And it gets to the point to where when I'm watching it, I just feel insulted. Especially adults. Like, I mean, I will sit through an episode of Doctor Who now, and I will walk away from that thinking, like, I felt like it wasn't even aimed at me. Like, I mean, I am a die-hard Doctor Who fan. I have been since the early 90s. And when I say early 90s, I mean like 91 or 92 or so, whenever the Sci-Fi Channel started running Doctor Who. It's like the show is not even aimed at the Doctor Who, not this Doctor Who audience anyway. I mean, it's I don't understand why they feel that's necessary to connect the audience, like I mean, either fucking kids these days are really fucking stupid, or the production crew thinks they are, because no one, I mean, honestly, when you write a story, when you have a story idea that is so fucking stupid, so bad, that even fans who are forgiving to some of the shit you write say it was crap, then you have stooped to a whole new level of low. Okay? I mean, I don't even know how this guy's script got greenlighted. You know, I thought we were getting away from all this fairy tale shit. That's another one of my biggest complaints with the season. Everybody I talk to that's not like on the Classic Whovians page or whatever, everybody's raving about how this has just been the best season of Doctor Who ever. You know, from Deep Breath all the way up to now has been like no less than 9 out of 10, which is just fucking silly. I mean, like, if you rate Deep Breath 9 out of 10, you're a fucking idiot. Okay, because even if, like, some people rated Kill the Moon like 10 out of 10. That is like one of the worst ones of the story, and I realize it's a matter of opinion, but even if you favored that story, it's not 10 out of 10, okay? Because 10 out of 10 means perfect. That means like no flaws, like everything was spot on, like the music was perfect, the pacing was perfect, the presentation was perfect, the acting was perfect, the story was perfect, the plot was perfect, everything was resolved satisfactorily, everything was tidied up satisfactorily. I mean, it's funny to me that, I mean, when I made that prediction earlier in the year about at least, I think I said about the prediction when at least one episode would involve children, I was literally thinking, along the lines of Fear Her in Series 2, where like maybe only one episode would mainly focus around a child. And I think we've gotten like 3 or 4 this season that have involved children in some way. Now, I'm not saying that children were not present in the original series, the first 26 seasons, but it was rare. And because the original series it's like Star Trek. It's like Star Trek The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager. It's a show that is aimed at kids but addresses adult issues. And that's not what New Doctor Who does, though. New Doctor Who is a show for kids that turns adult issues into issues. Like, it turns it into like a child's game or something. I would venture to say that no less than 50% of the audience watching Doctor Who are older fans like myself. I mean, I'm 30. I'll be 32 in December, and at least 50% of the audience are people that grew up on the original series. And I mean, tons of them have already jumped ship because of like how fucked up the series has got. But people like me who are, you know, we're clinging for dear life, and I guess we'll hang on to the bitter end. Which, by the way, I still say is going to be Series 10. But when you write a story, I mean, think about it. I mean, I would say only a third of your audience are children under the age of 8. When you write stories like In the Forest of the Night, you're aiming exclusively at a third of your audience. You're not writing a show for kids that can be enjoyed by both kids and adults. You're writing a show for kids that will only be enjoyed by kids. And so when 2/3 of your audience are adults and they sit down to watch an episode of Doctor Who, they're expecting something like Mummy on the Orient Express or Flatline. I couldn't remember the other one he wrote. they're expecting something like that, something that's not only something that would not only interest a child that's watching, but would also interest an adult watching. Like I said, I've been watching Doctor Who and Star Trek and the X-Files and all that stuff since I was like 8 or 9 years old. And like another show that I used to watch when I was like 8 or 9 years old, actually younger than that, was Blake 7. It's another British show. And I will admit that when I watched it as a kid, a lot of the stuff that happened in those episodes was kind of over my head. But, you know, I still enjoyed watching it, though. I mean, it's to this day, one of my favorite sci-fi shows. But as I've watched it again as an adult, I've learned more from the series watching it again. Like, I would watch something and I would think to myself, well, that didn't really make sense to me when I was watching it as a kid, but now that I watch it as an adult, now it makes sense. Like, people who grew up on Star Trek, who watched the original series as kids, that would happen to them. Like, they would watch it as kids. I may be thinking about Star Wars. They would watch it as kids, and they would have one perspective. They would take something away from Star Trek as a kid, and then years later watch it again as an adult and have an entirely new perspective on it. But the show can still teach them something, even as an adult. Even 30 years later, it can still teach them something. And that's the case with the original series of Doctor Who. I mean, you look at people who were introduced to the series in 2005 and have had the guts to actually go back and start watching the original series have learned that they prefer the original series over the new series, because they like how well written the stories are, they like how interesting the plots are, and how engaging they are. I mean, you can sit down with a story like Pyramids of Mars, or the Androids of Tara, or the Mind Robber, or the Aztecs, and you can sit down, you can go into a story like that, and you're engaged. Like, you don't want to put it down until you see it all the way through. Whereas with a story like In the Forest of the Night, again, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm only making these judgments from the trailer and from comments I've seen on Facebook, which, I mean, you know, it's one thing to be a matter of opinion, but when both sides are, like, it's synonymous on both sides, it sucked, like, I think it's no longer a matter of opinion. I think it just fucking sucked. I don't know what to do. I mean, I think Moffat just needs to fucking leave, okay? Because I don't think this is going to stop. I mean, honestly, the whole fucking production crew, in my opinion, needs to... If Doctor Who is going to survive longer than Series 10, then the whole thing, like, this whole production crew needs to be scrapped, and we just need to start over from fresh, with a whole new crew. And this time we need to get a crew. They need to do like what they're doing with Star Trek. I don't know if anybody's heard, but J.J. Abrams got kicked off the Star Trek bandwagon because of like how fucked up he made the franchise with his first 2 films. And now some guy that's making the 3rd film now is like a diehard Star Trek fan. And so I don't know how well it could go. It could be worse. But I would trust someone. I mean, apparently Moffat is a fan of Doctor Who, but I don't know what Doctor Who he was watching as a kid, but it damn sure wasn't this. I don't want the same thing. I don't want the first 26 seasons over again. I mean, I don't think I'm asking for much. I want new ideas that would, like what was written in Flatline. Like, it's genuinely a fresh idea, and it's the stories need to be presented in the serial format, though. Like, I know that people are always fucking telling me that that's not the way things are done these days and shit, which is bullshit, because any kid that is 6 or 8 years old, more than likely, at one point, has been exposed to some anime. And if you look at anime shows, virtually all of those run in a serial format. Like, they never run in an episodic format. So if a kid watches anime, serial format is not going to be anything that's new to him. So, and if it's a kid that's been watching the original series of Doctor Who, serial format is not going to be something new to them. So, that's one of the things that baffles me. I'm not really sure why they don't just do that. Because it's clear that in stories like Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline, which were fantastic ideas for Doctor Who stories, would have worked 10 times better if the writer had had 2 episodes to work with instead of just 1. Things wouldn't have felt so rushed, and you could have, like in the case of Flatline, you could have resolved the plot a bit more, concisely. I don't know what to do. I mean, I can already tell you that this episode is more than likely going to be my least favorite episode of the season. But my number one reason for it being my least favorite episode is because of the kids that are in it. You know, I don't have anything against kids. It's not that I don't like kids or anything. It's just that I don't understand why they're so often. Why are they always in fucking Doctor Who? That's what I don't get. It's just, you know, I know it's a kid show, and I know that kids are part of your audience, but they're not your only audience. Like, 2/3 of your audience are probably adults. And when you present shit like this to us, you're not only insulting our intelligence, but you're probably, you know, you're probably losing a lot of viewers when you do this. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, a few 100,000 or so fans jump ship tonight after that, you know, because it's just so ridiculous that it's just, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, the pattern that Doctor Who has been going through for the last 7 to 8 seasons has been about what you would expect from any other startup series. Like, even though Doctor Who has had 50 years worth of history to stand on, I honestly, if it continues down the road it's going, and I think someone's even told me that Moffat may be staying around to Series 10. I think that's a rumor, but nobody knows for sure. But at this point, I don't think it's capable. I don't think it can be saved. That's my opinion. I think regardless of what changes are made in the production crew, I think Series 10 will be the last series of the new series of Doctor Who, because it's just the ratings are just plummeting, especially the viewing figures are plummeting. I think last week was like 4 million or something. Like, it was the lowest it had been in like years. So, you know, it doesn't look good. And why won't Moffat listen? Like, Moffat is so arrogant. Like, he won't listen to his audience. Like, his audience have been telling him for years now what he's doing wrong, and what they would like to see from the series. And all that motherfucker can say is that we're wrong, you're wrong, I'm right. I'm doing it my way. This is my show. Fuck you. I'm God, or something. You know, just. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'm a diehard Doctor Who fan, and I hate to see it. At this point, it doesn't feel like, it just feels like it's dying a slow, agonizing death, and it's a shame, because I have a feeling that when it's all said and done and Doctor Who is gone, it's going to be looked back on the same way that the Star Wars trilogies were looked back on. Like, you know, people considered the original Star Wars trilogy to be flawless. And along came George Lucas with the special editions and the new trilogy, and it just forever tainted the, you know, the Star Wars' spotless record. They just tainted it, and now I think that's what's going to happen with Doctor Who. I think after the show is canceled and it's, you know, just a page in the history books, people will not be able to reflect on Doctor Who like we used to, where when we walked in the door in 2005, we reflected back on Doctor Who as like one of the best science fiction series ever to hit television, and it will not be possible to remember Doctor Who without thinking about the utter shit that it got dragged through before meeting its untimely death. And I think that's what's most upsetting for me, is that, you know, these fucking modern trends, shaky cam, color filters, you know, half-ass fucking written stories, more emphasis on character development than decent plots and that kind of thing. All of these little tropes that are, you just look anywhere in the entertainment industry, that's what kills fucking shows now. And that's why we had so many good shows during the 90s, is because there was, like, everything was natural color, and there was no shaky cam, and the music wasn't over the top. It didn't need a fucking, you know, blasting fucking orchestrated music in my ear to sustain a story. And the stories were written, well thought through, and they were resolved concisely. I mean, if you look at fucking Star Trek, those are 45-minute episodes, but I mean, even a fast-paced episode of Deep Space Nine is not nearly as rushed as an episode of Doctor Who. And I don't know. I don't know what else to do. I mean, like, I've been bitching about Doctor Who since Russell T Davies was still in there, and you know, it's very discouraging that the only thing as a diehard fan you can do is just get on YouTube and bitch about it, and then it not make a damn bit of difference. You know, so I hate it, but I seriously I don't think it's gonna last more than Series 10. If it does, I will be shocked because it's just what the if you look at other shows that run in this format, 7 to 10 seasons is usually about their limit. That's usually about how long they run. That's how long Stargate SG-1 ran, and then Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, all three of those ran for 7 seasons. And Babylon 5 ran for 5, but I mean, to be fair, Straczynski, he intended it to be 5 seasons, so you can't really count B5. So Blake 7 ran for 4, but it was actually supposed to only run for 3, and then it was like unexpectedly renewed for a 4th season. So I don't know. Once again, Stephen Moffat, if by some miraculous chance you're watching this, my advice to you is to drop the episodic format, switch to either a full serial format or a semi-serial format where you're doing 2 45-minute episodes per story, where you only have 7 stories per season, and get rid of this obsession with children in the show. Like you can present a show to kids, you know, in an adult manner without them turning the channel. You know, it's been done. I mean, how many kids watch the X-Files? You know, so yeah. That's all I gotta say. Like I said, I'll still be doing my review on it. I will try to force myself to sit and watch it. But and I know you guys have been asking about my other reviews about The Caretaker and Kill the Egg, and I have not. I will probably wait till the end of the season to do those. I've actually got 1 or 2 videos regarding Doctor Who that I want to do post-season. See you guys in time. If you are somehow, but for some reason, running across this video now, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and you know, I will be posting other videos expressing my thoughts on Doctor Who and how it's going the way of the dodo bird. I'll see you probably Monday or Tuesday when I get my video uploaded, because like I still haven't watched it yet. I won't get to watch it till tomorrow night, and I'll probably get my script written and the video shot tomorrow night. So, and then Monday I'll have to spend editing it, provided that I don't have a ton of artwork to do, which I probably will. So, but hey, the artwork pays the bills, doing the videos doesn't. See you guys later.